Imagine stepping into a palace in Renaissance Rome. The halls are bathed in flickering candlelight, the smell of roasted meats clings to the air, and the bitter stench of wine and sweat drifts from banquet tables where courtiers whisper behind jeweled hands. Laughter mixes with the solemn tones of church music, but beneath the grandeur lies something darker, something whispered in scandal for centuries, 3 times in a single night. An act so shocking, so audacious, that it still echoes through history like a scandalized drumbeat. This was no ordinary wedding. This was the night of Lucrezia Borgia, daughter of Pope Alexander VI, sister of Cesare Borgia, and one of the most notorious figures of Renaissance intrigue. But who was Lucrezia really? Was she a helpless pawn of her family's political ambitions, or an active participant in their ruthless games? Her life has long been shrouded in rumor, incest, poisonings, betrayal. Yet among the most disturbing tales is that of her wedding night, where chroniclers claimed she was consummated 3 times before dawn, her body turned into a public stage for politics and power. This event, carefully buried by sympathetic historians and sanitized family records, offers us a rare, unfiltered glimpse into the corruption that pulsed beneath the glitter of the Renaissance. Tonight, we strip away the myth of the radiant golden Borgia bride to reveal the truth, that behind the silks and jewels, the Renaissance was built on shadows, secrets, and the ruthless exploitation of even its most celebrated women. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about the Borgias, about the Renaissance, and about the fine line between celebration and cruelty. To understand the scandal of Lucrezia Borgia's wedding night, we must first descend into the world she inhabited, late 15th century, Italy, a land of fractured city-states, endless rivalries and courts that dripped with both art and blood. At the heart of it all was Rome, not only the center of the church but also a stage for political ambition, where the Pope was as much a king as a spiritual leader. In 1492, Rodrigo Borgia ascended the papal throne as Alexander VI, a man whose reign has become synonymous with corruption and excess. His court was a theater of spectacle, candlelit banquets where the wine never ceased to flow, cardinals whispering behind velvet curtains, and foreign ambassadors bribed with gold, land, or flesh. Rome under Alexander VI was both dazzling and decadent, and every whisper of scandal seemed to lead back to one family, the Borgias. Lucrezia, his daughter, stood at the very center of this web. To some, she was the golden-haired angel of Rome. To others, a dangerous pawn moved across the chessboard of Italian politics. Her marriages were never her own. They were contracts, forged to cement alliances and bend rivals into submission. The chroniclers of her time captured this duality. Johann Burchard, the meticulous papal master of ceremonies, recorded events with unnerving precision, though his accounts sometimes reveled in salacious detail. Niccolò Machiavelli, ever the analyst of power, painted the Borgias as ruthless exemplars of political cunning. Yet both men wrote with biases, Burchard from within the Vatican's walls, Machiavelli from Florence, a rival power. Through their eyes we glimpse a world of flickering candlelight, hushed intrigues, and calculated marriages. It is within this charged atmosphere that Lucrezia's infamous wedding night unfolded, a night that would forever brand her name with both fascination and infamy. Lucrezia Borgia's life was written not in her own hand, but in signatures on marriage contracts. Each union was a calculated move in the dangerous game of Italian politics. Her first marriage, to Giovanni Sforza of Pesaro, was annulled in 1497 under the convenient claim of impotence. But whispers in the streets of Rome twisted the story into something darker. Could it be that the marriage was ended because the Borgias wished to keep Lucrezia for themselves? The rumors of incest with her father Rodrigo or her brother Cesare Borgia spread like wildfire, half gossip, half weaponized propaganda. Her second marriage, to Alfonso of Aragon, seemed at first a triumph, uniting the Borgias with the powerful Neapolitan dynasty. Yet it ended in tragedy. Alfonso was brutally murdered in 1500, his throat cut as he staggered from an earlier assassination attempt. Many suspected Cesare's hand behind the blade. Once again, Lucrezia was painted as both accomplice and victim, her husband's death, feeding the legend of a family drenched in blood. By 1502, Lucrezia was once more a bride, this time to Alfonso d'Este, heir to the dukedom of Ferrara. This marriage was not about love, but survival. It gave the Borgias a foothold in northern Italy, shielding them against powerful enemies. The wedding was celebrated with extraordinary pomp, but behind the silks and jewels, chroniclers whispered of what came after. Johann Burchard hinted at a shocking consummation, one that went beyond ordinary ritual, 3 times in one night. But was this account true, or the product of malicious gossip amplified by Borgia enemies? Some argue it was propaganda, crafted to humiliate. Others believe it revealed the raw, transactional nature of Renaissance marriage beds. The truth, buried beneath centuries of rumor, remains disturbingly elusive. The night of Lucrezia Borgia's wedding to Alfonso d'Este was marked by pageantry, music, and endless feasting. But according to the papal master of ceremonies, Johann Burchard, the true spectacle unfolded after the banquets ended, when the couple was led to the marriage bed. His Liber Notarum records that the marriage was consummated 3 times in a single night, a detail so intimate, so unusual, that it has haunted the story of Lucrezia ever since. What did it mean? To some, it was a demonstration of fertility, proof that the young bride was capable of producing heirs for Ferrara. Others saw it as political theatre, staged to silence rumors of impotence that had clouded her first marriage. Still more interpreted it as a ritualized humiliation, a reminder that even in the most private of acts, Lucrezia's body belonged not to herself, but to dynastic ambition. Imagine the silence after the final act, the hushed corridors of the palace, echoing with gossip, servants whispering to one another, courtiers carrying letters back to their lords. Each retelling transformed the event into scandal, fueling the legend of the Borgias as both irresistible and corrupt. The story traveled quickly, Rome, Florence, Milan, feeding the political tensions simmering across the Italian states. Later historians, such as Ferdinand Gregorovius in the 19th century, repeated the tale with a mixture of fascination and revulsion, embedding it permanently into Lucrezia's legacy. Whether fact or propaganda, the impact was undeniable. The Borgia name became synonymous with excess, a family whose power extended even into the most intimate chambers. For Lucrezia, the wedding night was not merely personal, it was political. A performance staged on her own flesh, leaving behind whispers that would outlast even the Renaissance itself. That infamous wedding night was more than a rumor of excess. It became the very embodiment of Borgia power, politics. To their allies, it demonstrated virility and the promise of heirs. To their enemies, it confirmed every dark suspicion that the Borgias treated even the sanctity of marriage as a stage for their ambitions. 3 consummations in a single night was not simply an act of passion, it was scandal turned into strategy. Lucrezia herself became the unwilling canvas onto which these narratives were painted. Some chroniclers cast her as a victim, a young woman used as a vessel for dynastic power, her body stripped of privacy. Others, influenced by centuries of suspicion toward the Borgias, portrayed her as a participant in the decadence, complicit in the corruption of her family. Either way, she was transformed into a symbol, a woman less remembered for her humanity than for the sins others wrote upon her. And here lies the darker truth of the Renaissance. This was an age of genius, of Michelangelo's marble, Leonardo's visions, and Machiavelli's philosophies. Yet beneath the gilded ceilings and frescoed chapels was an obsession with control, with bending every sphere of life, art, politics, even intimacy, into a display of dominance. The very era celebrated for beauty was, at its core, entangled with cruelty. Psychologically, what did this wedding night represent? Was it a humiliation designed to assert ownership over Lucrezia, a display of raw control staged for political observers? Or a twisted celebration where private acts were weaponized as public proof? In Renaissance courts, nothing was sacred. Not art, not faith, not love. Even the marriage bed became a battlefield where power was won not only with swords or treaties, but with flesh. Conclusion. For centuries, the Renaissance has been remembered as an age of brilliance, an era of soaring cathedrals, masterful paintings, and the birth of modern thought. Yet, as we have seen, behind the gilded myths of glory lay shadows darker than most dare imagine. Lucrezia Borgia's wedding night is not remembered for love or intimacy, but for scandal and humiliation, a reminder that even in history's most celebrated age, cruelty often walked hand in hand with splendor. The broader truth is chilling. When power becomes the ultimate prize, humanity is easily sacrificed. The Borgias were not unique in this. They were simply more notorious, their family name etched into history as a symbol of corruption. But their story warns us of a timeless danger, that when politics devour morality, even the most private aspects of life can be twisted into public theater. Lucrezia, whether victim or participant, deserves to be remembered not as a rumor or caricature, but as a woman caught in a system that stripped her of agency. She was more than a pawn, more than a scandal. She was a human being whose story reflects the cost of power games played on living flesh. And now, the question passes to you. What shocks you most about Lucrezia Borgia's hidden world? Comment below and share your thoughts. We want to hear your voice. If you found this journey through forbidden history illuminating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories the textbooks often leave behind. Because in the glittering courts of the Renaissance, even the wedding bed became a battlefield. This documentary is for educational purposes only. It condemns the exploitation, manipulation, and violence described, shedding light on history not to glorify it, but to remember and learn.